Do this, and you could face prison time or lose more than $26,000. I'm talking about violating the Fair Housing Act. This is critical for real estate professionals and will be on your licensing exam. Today, we're covering everything you need to know: what the Act protects, examples of illegal discrimination, and how enforcement works. Stay until the end because I've got a memory trick that'll help you ace this section. What is the Fair Housing Act? Let's start with the basics. The Fair Housing Act is a major piece of civil rights legislation passed in 1968. It prohibits discrimination in housing based on 7 protected classes: race, color, religion, sex, national origin, familial status, and disability. It's enforced by HUD, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and the Department of Justice. These agencies ensure fair treatment in housing transactions and take action when violations occur. Here's a memory trick you need to know. The most common acronym for the 7 federal protected classes is FRESH corn. To make it more professional and helpful for the exam, use those letters to cover the nuances. F, familial status. R, race. E, equal opportunity, the overarching theme. S, sex. H, handicap, disability. C, color. O, other, check your state law. R, religion. N, national origin, fresh corn. Write it down. This will save you on exam day. Why does this law exist? The Fair Housing Act was passed on April 11, 1968. It came right after the Civil Rights Movement, inspired by efforts to end segregation and inequality. Here's something powerful. It was passed just days after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination on April 4, 1968. Over the years, it's been expanded to include protections for gender, families with children, and people with disabilities. Some states go even further. For example, New York also protects sexual orientation, lawful income source, and immigration status. Know your state's additional protections because they could show up on your exam. What discrimination looks like. Let's break down what housing discrimination actually looks like in practice. Example 1. A landlord claims an apartment is already rented after meeting a black applicant, but then offers it to a white applicant the next day. Example 2. A real estate agent steers a buyer towards certain neighborhoods based on their ethnicity or religion, pushing them away from areas where they'd be a minority. Example 3. A seller refuses to sell a home to families with young children, claiming the property isn't suitable for kids. These practices are all illegal. Knowing them helps you spot violations in real life and on your exam. Key illegal practices. These are 3 terms you must know very well: redlining, steering, and blockbusting. Students usually trip these up when studying for the exam, so let me make them crystal clear. Redlining. This is when lenders refuse to make loans or limit loans in certain geographic areas, often minority neighborhoods, regardless of the applicant's qualifications. They're literally redlining areas on a map and saying, "We won't lend here." That's illegal. Steering. This is when agents channel home buyers to or away from particular neighborhoods based on a protected class. Example, telling a Hispanic family they'd be more comfortable in a certain area, or avoiding showing homes in predominantly white neighborhoods. Yes, also illegal. Blockbusting or panic selling. This is the practice of inducing homeowners to sell their properties cheaply by triggering fear that a protected class, often a specific race or religion, is moving into the neighborhood. The agent then sells those same houses at a markup to the incoming group. If you're struggling to remember fair housing violations and terminology, LexaWise has practice exams organized by category. Enforcement and consequences. What happens when someone violates the Fair Housing Act? If someone believes they've been discriminated against, they can file a complaint with HUD or pursue legal action directly. HUD investigates the complaint. If they find evidence of discrimination, they can escalate the case to federal court. For example, if a new apartment building isn't accessible to people with disabilities, with no ramps, no wheelchair-accessible units, HUD may issue a discrimination charge. What are some of the consequences? Violators face serious penalties. Fines starting at $26,262 for a first offense up to $131,308 for repeat offenders, compensatory damages for victims, covering costs and emotional distress, and punitive damages in federal court if there's a pattern of discrimination. And here's the hard part. Proving discrimination isn't always easy. Attorneys stress the importance of collecting strong evidence, written records, emails, text messages, witness statements. Exemptions you need to know. Now, not everything is covered by the Fair Housing Act. There are exemptions you need to know for the exam. Exemption 1, the Mrs. Murphy exemption. This is the most famous exemption on the exam. You can never discriminate based on race due to the Civil Rights Act of 1866, and you can never use discriminatory advertising. The rule, if a dwelling has 4 or fewer units and the owner lives in one of the units, they are exempt from certain parts of the act. The logic, this protects small-scale landlords, like a widow renting out a room in her house, allowing them to choose who they live with. Exemption 2, single-family housing. A private individual owner is exempt when selling or renting their own single-family home, but only if they meet these strict criteria. They don't own more than 3 single-family homes at one time. They don't use a real estate agent or broker, and they don't use discriminatory advertising. All 3 conditions must be met. Use an agent. The exemption disappears. Exemption 3, religious organizations. Religious organizations or affiliated nonprofits can limit housing to people of the same religion, but only if the religion itself doesn't discriminate based on race, color, or national origin. Exemption 4, private clubs. Private clubs that aren't open to the public can provide lodging for their members, as long as it's not for commercial purposes. They can give preference to their own members. Exemption 5, Housing for Older Persons Act, HOPA. This exempts certain senior housing from the familial status protection. There are 2 types, 62 plus communities. 100% of residents must be 62 or older. 55 plus communities. At least 80% of units must have at least one person aged 55 or older. Important note, these communities still can't discriminate based on race, religion, or any other protected class. They're only exempt from familial status requirement. The Fair Housing Act is more than just a law. It's a commitment to equity and justice in housing. As future real estate professionals, it's our responsibility to uphold these principles and ensure fairness for all. If you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more exam prep content. Thanks for watching. See you in the next lesson. Now go ace that exam.